Alright guys, so I'm going to show you how I created my surreal image using the Pixlr program. You're going to want to go to www.pixlr.com and then click Pixlr E. I'm going to get rid of these, and what I'm going to do is hit create new. I'm going to use the Instagram size again, and I'm going to title my piece with surreal. Hit create. Alright, so right now I have nothing, no layers. I have my empty layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an image. Now I chose some images already that I would like to include in my piece. So I'm just going to first upload the desert. I'm going to resize it. I'm going to go ahead and rename this layer to desert. And that says desert. Okay. Right now, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the sky in the mountains because I do not want that. Now this layer 0, I'm going to go ahead and title that my background layer. And I have this color here that I had pre-chosen, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill it in with a solid color. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and add another image. I'm going to choose the plant image that I had come up with, that I found when I did a Google search. I'm going to go ahead and rename this. Again, renaming helps keep all your layers straight, especially when you end up with lots of layers. I'm going to go ahead and cut out the background. I use my cutout tool, magnetic cutout. I'm going to bump up my tolerance so I can get everything out. And then I'm just going to click on all the white spaces. Uh-oh. So I'll go back in my history and undo that. For these small spaces, I'm just going to zoom in so I can see a little bit better so that I don't make that mistake again. Let's see, magnetic tolerance. Okay. Uh-oh. And I might just leave that there. Okay. Because I don't think it'll make that big of a difference. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I want to cut off this pot here because I don't want that in my image. I want the plant to look like it's growing from the sand in the desert. So I'm going to go ahead and just do my shape cutout on my cutout tool. I'm removing from the cutout and I'm just going to do the square. So I think I want to remove all of this. And I'll just kind of drag it down and place it where I want and resize. I'll play with the size and everything later and kind of give it a shadow later once I get it in place where I want. Okay, so that's good for the plant now. I'm going to go ahead and add another image, and then I chose this watering can. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in, change the name. Okay, and I'm going to cut out the background. Again, this is a very important tool. I had the tolerance too high. As you can see, it took away some of the highlights in the watering can, so I'll turn it down a little bit. It's still too high. Let me go back down to their suggested tolerance. Okay, that worked really well. So just get rid of the rest of it. I'm going to move the watering can to the top corner, and then I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to rotate it by clicking on that blue circle. I want it to look like water could pour out of this watering can. Okay, so that looks good for now. I may go ahead and size down my plant a little bit more. now I'm ready for another layer, and instead of water coming from the watering can, I wanted to have sprinkles. So again, I'm going to use my cutout tool, my magic cutout tool. I'm going to bump the tolerance up, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that background. So it looks like it got rid of almost all of the background there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my arrange tool, and I'm going to flip horizontally because I want my sprinkles to come from this opening of the watering can instead of coming from the other side. And then this is kind of a straight line here, and I want to get rid of some of the sprinkles so it doesn't look like such a straight line. So to choose my sprinkle layers, I'm using the eraser tool. I'm going to kind of make my brush a little smaller, and I'm just going to erase some of these just to make it look like it makes more sense coming from the watering can. And I think that looks good. It looks like it's coming from the bottom here, and then it's watering the plant with sprinkles. Alright, I had originally chosen a cupcake photo, but I have since changed my mind, and I want to add a moon in this corner here since it looks kind of empty. So since I didn't get one from Google, I'm just going to find one on the Pixlr stock images. I'm just going to search for a moon and find a moon that I like. And I believe this is the moon I chose, but it doesn't really matter. Any of them will work. Okay. Let me undo that because I accidentally erased. Okay, now I'm going to cut out the background again. Water my moon. Let me see how that does. That looks good. And I'm just going to move my moon up to where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and change the name of the layer. And I'm going to resize. I want it to be a little bit smaller. Now, I actually think I chose a different moon. I kind of actually really like the colors of this moon and how it looks right now. But for my other example, I had used, I clicked on these three dots beside the moon box and then went into blend mode. And you can click these different blend modes and it will help kind of overlay or kind of blend your images together better. It changes colors and looks, and so I'm just trying each one to see which one I like. Okay, and I think I chose luminosity the first time I created it, but I think this time I'm gonna just leave it as none because I really like this color. Let me see the watering can, if I can play around with the blend mode and see if I can change it up a little bit. But kind of like that. Okay. I think I'm going to play with the coloring in the plant just so it makes a little more sense. So I'm going to go here to adjustments, and, or I'm sorry, I'm going to go to filter and I'm going to go to effect library. And then there's all these different effects. So if I look, there's like this vintage look, Harrison. Just really playing around with each one. I kind of like this one, and you can change how much of that filter you see. Let's see, let me go back and let's just see kind of what some of the different options are. That's kind of cool. It kind of matches the moon a little bit. I think I like that one. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and apply. Now that I'm looking at it, I kind of want to change the opacity of this moon to where it's not so bold. So I'm just going to bring the transparency down so a little bit of that pink background shows through. And I may play around with my sprinkles a bit. I'm going to again add an effect. Let's see what we can get when we play around with this. Okay, this is kind of cool, giving it kind of that vintage feel that kind of goes with the rest of the image, in my opinion. I like that. Okay, so again, guys, there's a million different ways we could do this. Feel free to play around, change things up. You know, the desert, I could even play with it if I wanted to, but I kind of like having it just normal, so I'm not going to have anything. Alright, so here we go. I have this plant here. I could move my plant down to the bottom to where it's growing from the bottom, but I kind of want it to be in the middle so it kind of looks like it's growing from this sand, because it doesn't really make sense for this kind of plant to be growing in the desert. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and make a new layer, but this time I'm going to choose an empty layer. And I'm going to be adding a shadow underneath this plant. So what I'm going to do is get the paintbrush tool. I'm going to choose a color. I'm going to choose this brown right here that's really dark at the bottom. And I need to flip it so that that color's at the top. Now I'm going to brush this on. I want it to be really soft. I don't want any harsh edges. I'm going to go ahead and give myself a big size. And I'm just going to paint underneath this plant just to give it kind of like a shadow. And I may give it a little bit over on the sides to try to blend it in. I'm going to move that layer above to kind of blend the bottom of that plant. And then I may take the transparency down a bit so it's not so harsh. You go ahead and change this so I know this is my shadow layer. Okay, that's cool. Alright, and one other thing I'm looking at, if we zoom into the bottom of this plant, it's got that really straight line. So you can tell that it's just put there. So what I'm going to do is get my eraser tool, and I'm going to, again, make it really soft around the edges so it doesn't have a harsh line. Increase my size, and I'm going to turn down the opacity a little bit so it's a little bit see-through. And, oops, I'm on the wrong layer, so let me get back to plant. I'm just going to kind of paint the bottom of the plant so that harsh line disappears, and it kind of just looks like it's coming up from the ground. Now let me zoom out and check and see what that looks like. Alright, cool. I think that looks a lot better. I'm going to still adjust it a little bit, maybe scoot it down some. Maybe I should bring my shadow underneath. Play around with that. Let's see. So anyway, I played with this some more, changed around some colors. I could keep playing with it for hours, but just create your surreal picture however you like. Play with some of the different filters and tools, and just create an interesting image. Make sure to save your image before you get off your website. Save it to your computer so that way you will not lose it. Alright, have fun!